Joined by two guests. In Oklahoma City, James Branham is a lawyer who specializes in representing military deserters and conscientious objectors. He's also legal director for the Oklahoma Center for Conscience and Action and author of U.S. Army AWOL Defense, A Practical Guide. In London, England, we're joined by Charles Glass, a historian and former ABC News chief Middle East correspondent. His book, The Deserters, A Hidden History of the Second World War. In it, he tells the stories of three men whose lives dramatize how the strain of war can push a soldier to the breaking point. They're among some 50,000 American soldiers who deserted in the European theater during World War II. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! James Branham, let's begin with you. Your response to this controversy that's growing around the release of Bergdahl.
The most important thing we have to remember is that we do not know the facts. Yesterday in the New York Times, the headline was, "The facts are murky." We really do not know, and this is really a key thing here. If the allegations are true, even then we have to say that what happened is the result of war itself. This is not uncommon. This is not unexpected. War is messy. Things get crazy. In this case, what has been alleged is that Sergeant Bergdahl was struggling with issues of conscience, that there were major concerns that he had. When people are under the strain of conscience, of feeling like they're violating what they believe, they do things that may not be logical. If the allegation is correct that he left the post, this is not something you do unless you believe you have no other choice but to violate your conscience. It was effectively a very suicidal kind of act. In this case, though, it seems like that if true, it was a matter of either violate my conscience and stay or potentially suffer my own loss of life. It's unfortunate he did not know the full range of options he had under the law, but one of the problems is the military does not inform soldiers of their rights under the law to seek a discharge on the grounds of conscience, to seek other ways of relief. So I think we have to look at the full context here. Fundamentally, though, we really don't know the facts yet.
James Branham, could you elaborate on that? What are some of the options available to soldiers who are struggling with their conscience in conditions of war? What could he have done, Bergdahl, had he known what his options were?
U.S. military regulations allow for a service member who is currently a member of the military to file an application for conscientious objector status. In that application, they must explain in detail in an essay format what they believe about war, and they must show a few things. First of all, they must show that their beliefs are sincere, that they're not motivated by cowardice or expediency, but they are based upon their conscience. Secondly, they have to show that their beliefs are based on either religious grounds or deep conscientious grounds. In other words, that they're stemming from the core of their being. Third, they must show that they're opposed to all wars. You can't pick and choose which war you're opposed to. You can't say, I only support just wars. That's not good enough. You have to be opposed to all war. And then finally, you have to show that your beliefs changed sometime after you enlisted. The reason for this is if you enlisted and had these beliefs, then you would have fraudulently enlisted, because they ask you about this, at least in theory, when you enlist. But after the time of enlistment, our military recognizes the fact that a person's life can change. It could be religious conversion. It could be a dramatic experience. Many things happen in a service member's lives. And when those things happen, if they reach the point that the service member can no longer serve without violating the conscience, they can apply for this status. The challenge here is once they make the application, there's a complicated and long process. Interviews from a psychiatrist, interviews by a chaplain, and then a hearing before an independent hearing officer, and then it goes up the chain of command all the way up to the branch level where final decision is made. It is not an easy process. It's a grueling process. That said, the process is there. The problem is most service members do not know they have this right under the law. There's no obligation for the military for commanders to inform service members of this right. Therefore, a right that you don't know about effectively doesn't exist. This is the logic of the Miranda decision. And the Supreme Court said that the typical criminal defendant may not know they have the right to not talk to the police. In the same situation here, a service member may not know they have the right to apply for the status unless this is told to them. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and I think it's very high likelihood that Sergeant Bergdahl may have been struggling with issues of conscience but did not know this process was there.